enact this revenge. Hey, and welcome back to our channel. We are Cinechix. I'm Jen.
And I'm Christina, and today we're going to be talking about A Promising Young Woman, which originally released in theaters December 25th and finally dropped on VOD this past weekend. It was directed by Emerald Fennell, who also wrote it, and she also worked on productions such as The Crown and Killing Eve, and it was also starring Carey Mulligan. So, what did you think about the movie?
I really liked it. I was super excited for this movie, and I wish that we'd been able to see this in a theater, but unfortunately there are no theaters open around us. But I really loved it, and I wasn't let down. Everything about this movie, the acting was great, the writing was really great, the character motivations, the cinematography was amazing. Like, everything about this movie I loved, which, I mean, I can be really picky, so that says a lot. What'd you think?
I actually really loved the movie. It actually stuck with me for a while afterwards.
Same.
Like, you know, I watched it in the morning, and then, like, you know, throughout my day, I just kept randomly going back to the movie. And, like, it's written so well that you feel a connection to her main character. So, like, just her journey and what happens at the end, you're just so invested in it that even after it, it's kind of like you feel like you knew this person in real life and this happened in real life, and now you're feeling like, man, like, why did it have to go that way? So, like, it really did stick with me a lot. I loved how smart it was. The writing was so smart. It revealed information to you exactly when you needed to get the information.
Yeah, and it wasn't like, there wasn't a lot of fluff, there wasn't like extra stuff, and the way that it was written, like, the concept of this movie, it could have gone a completely different way. It could have been like pandery and just like in your face, but like the way they did it and the way they wrote the characters and all of it, like, it was just so good, and like it just really makes you invested the whole time.
Exactly. And to your point about not adding extra fluff, they were able to establish the fact that the progression of her relationship with her parents without overly showing them, if that makes sense. Like, you understood that her as a person changed over time based on what happens without having to add too much of, you know, let's flash back. And actually there was literally no flashbacks if you think about it.
There weren't. Like, they talk about it.
They never flash back.
That's what I really loved about it too, is like, this could have been one of those movies where we do flash back and see what actually happened back then, but we don't. And it's not like we missed out, because we get all the information, and we get, like, even like the video that comes up later. We don't see what goes on, but we hear voices, and like, that's all you need. Like, they did so well of like making you uncomfortable and making you like aware of the situation without like overdoing it.
And I think the coloring of the movie is so pretty. It looks like, it reminds me of a candy shop until, you know, that pivotal point in the end.
The coloring makes you feel like it should be like a happy movie.
Exactly.
And, like, her nails, every single nail is like a different color. Like, they don't ever address it, but it's just like, it's interesting because like, she's not like a happy person, but like her nails and everything like show otherwise. So then it made me wonder, like, were the nails like in remembrance of her friend, or did they have another meaning that like we just don't know, or was it just like her nails? I don't know.
Exactly. And the things that we don't know like that don't bother you.
No.
When you're watching. And she was able to craft a character in a story so well that you literally do not care that you don't know. You're just like, that's fun, I wonder why she does that, but it's not distracting to the point where you're like, she should have expounded on it.
Okay, so if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want to hear spoilers, you should stop now. But if you'd like to hear spoilers, then you can continue.
Danger.
One of the things that, like, while I watched the trailer, I thought that she was like killing all of these guys. And in the movie, you see her like interact with a couple of the guys, and she doesn't kill them. And so I'm like, what actually goes on? And then I was talking to another friend of mine who watched it, and I was like, oh yeah, she doesn't kill any of them. And he's like, well, I think that's what the red lines are murders, and then the black ones are not. But that doesn't make sense to me. I don't think her character would have done that. I don't know what you guys think. Christina, what do you think? I don't think that that's what that meant.
I literally just thought that that's what she wanted to do. Kind of like how her nails is just part of her aesthetic. I just thought for her, she just did it that way. Because I feel like if she was actually killing them and the red lines meant that they would have shown at least one being killed.
Yeah.
Instead, they just see her scaring. Throughout the whole movie, she's scaring people. She's not actually doing the things that they think she's doing. So I feel like it's weird that she would randomly be killing them, but then like the whole movie you see her basically doing things to teach people lessons, not to actually harm them in the
Let us know what you guys think in the comments, but I don't think that that's what those red marks meant. Like you said about like her just teaching everyone a lesson, at first I really did think that she like made her friend like get super drunk and then sleep with a guy, like or her ex-friend or whatever. I really thought that that's what she did until like later in the movie, and she's like, no, he was like fine. And it's just like really interesting, like her motivations. The whole time, the people that she's approaching, she's literally just trying to like get them to see another point of view, which I really loved. And like she gives them the opportunity to do the right thing and to own up to their mistakes. And only one of the guys that she approached did, and I really liked that that aspect of like showing some people being remorseful and then others not. Going off of that, as well as like she gave all the guys that she went home with the opportunity. It wasn't just like she automatically like goes home with them and then like flips. She says no. She says, what are you doing? She gives them the opportunity to be a good guy and like not try to take advantage of her. And then once they cross the line, that's when she'll like be like, hey, I'm not fucking around.
She gives them a lot of time. Like a lot of time. It's not like she's like no and they don't immediately stop. She gives them so much time to register what she's saying and stop, and they still do it anyway. So it's not even like she's jumping the gun, oh maybe he would have stopped, or no, she's allowing them to take it to the point where obviously I said stop and you still didn't stop. She is very sure about what she's doing before she does it.
Yeah.
She gives them so much. It's just crazy how much time she gives them.
And then it's so interesting to see their reaction when she is like, I said stop. And they're all like, wait, you're not really drunk? You're not fucked up? Oh, okay. Which I'm like, dude. I would say like the boyfriend that she ends up having, her boyfriend, I thought like, oh my gosh, she's finally seeing that like not all guys are like bad, and she has like a good relationship with this guy, and he doesn't try to like take advantage of her whenever he like shows up at his apartment and he's like, oh hey, look, we're at my house. And then she's like obviously uncomfortable. He doesn't like push. So I was like, oh, see, look, they're not all bad. And then he was a part of the college situation, and I was like, motherfucker.
And to the one thing I loved about this movie, because when he did walk back to his apartment, was like, oh wow, how do we end up here? Immediately I was like, oh crap, because she's already like, she's experienced this with all those crappy guys, and she already has that like trauma of that. So I thought that she was not going to continue to give him a chance. I'm like, well, like he's nice, like he didn't push and things like that. And so I was so happy that she didn't just immediately close herself off. Like she had her freak out, she had her like, oh crap, he's just like the other ones. And then she sat with it, thought about it, and was like, you know what, let me just give him a chance. And I really love that she didn't automatically shut down. So it kind of shows that like she's willing to give these guys a chance, even if she feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
For a split second, she was still willing to give him a chance.
Right, because he came back and he apologized and he's like, listen. And that's another thing, like, I do kind of wish, like, I loved the movie. Everything about it was like super great the way that it was. But if there was one thing that I could change about this movie, it would have been his character. to like not be an asshole in the end. Like if he had like shown remorse for what happened whenever he was in college, whenever she approached him, instead of just being an asshole and being like, I was a kid, like you gotta own up to your mistakes. You've gotta like take responsibility for your mistakes. And like, that was the whole theme of this is like taking responsibility for your actions and also holding other people accountable for their actions. And I just kept wanting it whenever like she goes to the bachelor party and whenever she's getting killed. I literally was waiting for him to walk through the door and save her, to be like, hey, I believe you, like you're right, I fucked up and I'm gonna hold these guys responsible now. And that didn't happen, and I really wish it had, just because I wish that there was one good guy in this movie. But it's still like the way that it ended was great. I just wanted some type of happy ending,
which you do not get one.
You do not.
In this movie. I think that the reason why it stuck with me so much is because of the fact that you do not get that. You get one, but not the way
you want it.
You want it. You don't want
ending.
This happy ending. I mean, happy because everyone involved ends up being held accountable for something.
Justified ending.
Yes.
But not a happy ending.
Yeah, I mean, we're happy that like they get their due, but it's
I just mean
also
not happy in like her parents, you know, she was finally getting better. They just lost their only daughter. She loses her life. Like she never got to do what she wanted to. She never like finished school. She never got to find a good guy and like have a good relationship, because the relationship with Ryan, or whatever his name is, like amounted to nothing because of his past and because he didn't just like own up. His reaction to her confronting him would have made all the difference, I think. Like the lawyer, like she would have been able to like.
Exactly. The lawyer who defended not only the rapist in the movie, but also other rapists like him. He was so remorseful. So in the end, he ended up helping her at the end, and like she ended up forgiving him. And not, so it's not like her character is not trying to seek forgiveness. It's not like this scorned woman who doesn't want forgiveness. She's just past that. She did want to forgive these people. Like when the lawyer was breaking down and telling her like, I'm so sorry for my part in it, she got so emotional and cried and literally said, I forgive you.
Yeah.
And she's not acting like someone who doesn't acknowledge that just because you did this or that in the past, that you're the same exact person. She acknowledges that people can change, and she tries to kind of get them to show her like, no, I changed, but then they don't.
And one thing that I also loved about this movie is, I know that a lot of movies these days can be like super pandery or like super in your face about stuff and saying like all guys are bad, but this movie wasn't really trying to say that all guys are bad. They were saying that bad guys are out there, but also it was saying that like women have their part in this too. Women are not like
innocent bystanders who are above it all. Like they also perpetuate.
And like, exactly. You would think like, oh, like a woman would like have some empathy and like understand, but no, she was like, oh, she shouldn't have gotten drunk, or like whatever, she shouldn't have put herself in that situation. And like the friend,
and Alison Brie's character,
Wolf. And I'm like, everyone can fuck up and not hold people responsible. And the friend that was like supposed to be their friend didn't believe her, even though she saw a video. Like, I'm sorry. This video is going around and that one person was like, hey, guys, this is super messed up and like, we should do something about this. You yourself are held responsible for like, even if you're just a bystander, like you need to stand up for.
Exactly.
And I think that was like a really great message and like really hit home it, because it like in all aspects of life, like I think it fits.
You know, even the end of the movie, how she had to make them pay for what happened to her. The fact that she literally had to die for this to be taken seriously. Even though like I believe that, but that's so baffling to me that a girl was raped, there's a video, and the only way that anybody is paying any attention is if she died. She is so smart in the whole movie. Like, you have to be brilliant to walk into a situation knowing exactly what everyone's gonna do.
Yep.
Like, she knew that he was going to kill her, knew that they were going to try to hide the body, knew that if she wore the necklace, so I think that's why she wore it, that they'd be too dumb to get rid of it. So she left enough behind for them to be able to be like, yep, that's her body. And I didn't even know you can schedule text messages.
I didn't either. I feel like they had to say scheduled message so that
we don't think that she survived.
Yeah. She survived getting burned.
Look, I was holding out hope the whole time.
So was I.
I was like, no,
she's not dead. I kept waiting for her to like get up. Everything they did about that scene was so uncomfortable and so real that it really like hit and was super emotional. And it was a very long death scene, but I feel like it was also kind of necessary the way that they did it. But even when she's laying there, I was just waiting for her. I'm like, okay, maybe she just like passed out. Like girl's gonna be fine. Like, come, get up. And she didn't. And
even when they were burning her body, I was like, no.
Yeah.
No. I'm pretty sure she probably switched the bodies. No. Fine. That's some other dead body. It's not her.
Yeah.
I know the nails are, no, that's not her. That's not her. So honestly, if it wasn't a scheduled message, I'd be one of those idiots like, wait, but did she die for real or no? I saw her strangled, I saw her burned, and I'm still sitting here like, no, she didn't die.
She didn't die.
No.
She's fine. But like that little tiny montage that they had after she was starting to date Ryan and let her revenge go. She had like a few weeks or days, or I don't know how long that was, but like she had some happiness. She talked about how she like didn't have any friends. But then she was like hanging out with her friend / boss from the coffee shop, and like it hurt my heart.
Clearly she cared about, because she sent her necklace to her.
Yeah, and I thought that was really interesting to be like, she's basically passing on the baton of like, okay, now it's your turn to like protect women, basically, is what I felt like it kind of was.
And probably also to just let her know that as standoffish as she seemed to be all the time, that she probably was like, look, like, I know I act like I have no friends, you're not my friend, but like, I absolutely love you, and I want something for you to remember me by.
And one thing that I think is really interesting, again, the things that this movie doesn't say is brilliant, and the way that they like go about letting you piece things together without blatantly saying it or without showing you a flashback is so well done. And the fact that like Nina, her friend, like we assume that something really bad happened to her after her rape, but we're not really sure, because she keeps saying like, oh, I had to take care of Nina. So then I was thinking like, oh, is she like in like a mental hospital? Was she like, what happened? And then when she goes to visit the mom, I was still kind of like holding out hope of like, okay, she's still alive, but maybe she's just like messed up, or like, and then not until like I kind of thought like, okay, she's dead. And they never once say that she committed suicide, but you know that's what happened, because people didn't listen to her. They didn't take her seriously. The guys that did the story weren't held responsible. And the way that they did that was so good, because it also just makes you think of like how many girls like that are out there, that like these situations have happened. And when people aren't listening to you, a lot of these girls do end up committing suicide. And it's so heartbreaking and so fucked up that like this is how our world is. And so I also think that this is a super timely, important movie.
And I find it odd, even though it's a very small percentage of false reporting, that it does happen, but I think it's weird that the rationale that people have for not believing them is that, well, it's because they didn't want anyone to know what happened. The whole process of going through with reporting a rape is so traumatic, and you think that they'd rather do that than just be like, yeah, I had sex with that guy. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. And one is more traumatic than the other.
It is super unfucking fortunate that there are people out there that like do spread lies and do report false rape for whatever reason, And I think that those situations as well, those girls that falsely accuse someone need to be held responsible just as much as like a guy that does rape someone, because they're the reason, the ones that are falsely accusing, they're the reason that these real accusers are not getting held responsible. And so I think that people need to be held responsible for their lies as well as their actions.
But I do think that regardless of how many, if nobody falsely reported, I still think that there would be a whole thing about like not believing women. I don't think the false reporting is the whole thing, but it definitely does not help.
The fact is, like, we need to be able to hear the truth. And the dean said, like, she didn't really look into it because she thought it was like a false thing. You need to look into every single situation. Even if it is a false one, then you look into it and find out that it was a false accusation, and then hold that girl responsible for her false accusation. And you look into it and find out that the guy did rape her, then great. Go arrest him and then hold him responsible. No matter what the situation is, you have to investigate and you have to come down to the truth.
And then she's talking about, and then she was like, oh, we get reports like this every week. Like, that's supposed to mean something,
right,
okay? So since you get them a lot, exactly. So since you get them a lot, you just automatically assume it can't be happening that much. So I'm just gonna not take it seriously because I keep getting reports about it all the time. Yeah. That doesn't make any sense. So what are your final sum it up thoughts about the movie?
My final thoughts are, this was a great movie. I haven't watched Killing Eve, but now that I know that this writer, Emerald Fennell, also wrote on Killing Eve, now I want to watch it because she's a great writer and a great director. I just love that this was a great movie, because I know that so many movies that are written and directed by women right now, some of them aren't up to par, and this is one that you can't really knock. Everything about it was great, and I am super sad that I didn't get to go see it in a theater. If you can see this in a theater, go do it, and if you can't, then it's definitely worth renting. Like, I was super disappointed with Wonder Woman, I was super disappointed with Mulan, which I had to pay for. This, not disappointed that I had to pay for it. Like, take my money, it's good, have it. So go watch it. That's my final thought. What about you?
Like you said, the movie is so great. There are no glaring faults with it. It doesn't alienate anybody. It doesn't alienate women. It doesn't alienate men. At least I'm not a man, but I don't think that it did anything to alienate men either.
If kind of like I think what we were saying about like the Antebellum one, like if you were feeling a little bit like upset about Antebellum, then maybe you need to look at yourself. If you're feeling upset about this movie and you're a man, maybe you need to look at yourself.
I mean, yeah. But yeah, I think that the story is like hauntingly beautiful. And I hate to describe it that way because of the subject matter, but like it is hauntingly beautiful, and it really made me think, like, honestly, and I was telling you this, if I had confidence in my ability to hold my own in a rapey situation with a grown man, I probably would do the same thing she's doing, scaring them into realizing that this is not okay. I feel like, you know, I would love to do it, could never, too scared. Yeah. But it really made me feel empowered in the way of like, I can attempt to control my situation. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And like I said, with the subject matter, it's so weird to say these things, but like that's kind of like the feeling it gave me anyways. But yeah, it's definitely worth watching. I'm so sad that this had to happen. Because like I feel like, you know, it should be seen by way more people. And, you know, there's some people who just don't like to pay for things on VOD, not because they think the movie's gonna be bad, just because they don't feel like they want to do it. It sucks that the main way that anyone can see it, because of everything going on, is VOD. And it's definitely a movie that deserves a lot more attention, a lot more
it deserves to be
eyes
seen
on
the
it.
Big screen.
It does,
and it sucks that we live in a time that we can't do that. But it deserves that.
I think it's something that everybody should see. No matter if you're, you know, an ally to women, you would never do that. Even if you speak up, even if, you know, no matter where you fall on that spectrum, I think that seeing this movie is something that everyone should do.
Yeah, I agree. So go do it. Go watch, and make sure you like this video and share it. Do all this stuff.
And make sure you hit that little notification bell so that you know every time we post new videos.
Yeah. Till next time.